either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. I'm Nico.
And I'm Chris.
And warning, this is a slow motion zone podcast episode.
Yes, because this week we watched the ultimate slow motion movie, Baywatch.
I don't agree with it being the ultimate slow motion. The one that uses the ultimate amount of obnoxious slow motion is Battlefield Earth.
This is true.
There is so much slow motion in that movie.
Yeah, that is a lot. Baywatch is intentionally slow motion.
This one is intentional.
Yes, they knew what they were doing while creating this movie. Thus, I like this movie.
Exactly. So,
to be more specific, we're reviewing the 2017 one, the one that does not actively contain the Hoff. I mean, he's in it,
yeah,
but he's not the main star, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, before we get into that a little bit, I did not realize how big of a series Baywatch was.
Oh, it was gigantic.
I did not realize that it ran from 1989 to 1999.
Yep.
And then it changed, and then in 1999 to 2001, they changed settings to Hawaii.
Yep, they sure did.
Known as Baywatch Hawaii.
I liked that one.
It spawned a spin-off series called Baywatch Nights.
Yes, it did.
Which ran from 1995 to 1997.
Yep.
As well as 3 direct-to-film videos.
Yes.
Or direct-to-video films.
Yes.
And estimated 1.1 billion viewers worldwide weekly.
Yes. It was the most watched show of its time.
I have never seen an episode of it.
You know, if you got a chuckle out of this movie, it's not worth not seeking out a couple episodes here or there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, unless you're like me and into old TV shows, maybe not worth a full rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
Is very of its time.
I'm aware to a point.
But if you're like me and your favorite TV show is Cheers, maybe give it a look. It was fun. It is a good time. I have not seen every episode. I did not watch the night version. I mostly watched some of the Hawaii versions here and there.
Yeah.
I didn't really get to watch it actively. I wasn't one of those people who turned in every week. I got to watch it when it was on, which wasn't a lot.
Yeah, well,
we just didn't have the channels that had it, was my main point.
Yeah, my parents were never into it, and when it was popular, we were living in Alaska, and then in Germany.
Well, and we kind of missed the demographic for it, which, I mean, that's my entire life, really, is I am that one person who's the wrong demographic for whatever I'm currently watching. But, original Baywatch was very much, there was a lot of girls who watched it. It was 64% women watched it or something like that.
That was one thing I was surprised about, too. It was about, they said it was 64% women.
And it was 18 to 30-year-old women, too.
Yeah, because, supposedly, from what I read about it, the depiction of women in it was positive, and they were strong, independent career women.
Yeah, no, I mean, Pamela Anderson starred in it, and granted, she is a beautiful woman with gigantic boobs and blonde hair, but, she also, most of her roles, at least tries to portray someone doing a lot more. Granted, she gets written sometimes poorly.
Yeah.
Your neighbor's moving their table?
I have no clue. I do apologize. My neighbor upstairs makes some loud bangs, so if you hear anything, I'm sorry.
Everybody's stuck to be home together.
Yes. So...
But yeah, so the 2017 movie is both an honoring memory of and also a sarcastic view of the memory of Baywatch.
A self-aware reimagining of a modern-day Baywatch.
Yes. And so, a lot of the things that people gave the new movie shit about, they weren't really in the old one. It was not nearly as much boob and dick as this movie. So,
no.
Despite the fact that I think the swimsuits were actually smaller on the old one, just because that's how the swimsuits were back in the day. They came up real high and they came down real low back then.
More midriff this time.
There's a lot of tummy.
Yes.
But penis jokes weren't as predominant
No.
in the old version, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah.
However, did 13-year-old boy Christine get an absolute giggle out of them? Oh, you bet I did. I thought it was delightfully hilarious. I can see why the critics hated it.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the TV show, just kind of how it started.
Yes.
Or just where this movie came from. Before we get into it, though,
Yeah.
what drink do we have today, Chris?
Well, we have the only thing appropriate, really, for a movie starring both Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Zac Efron, who are both shirtless almost the entire movie.
And very beautiful women.
Very beautiful women. So, White Claw.
Beach. Summer. Bros.
Mango flavored.
Prost.
Prost. It's not as bad as I thought it would be.
I'm still not a fan.
I have a theory that with alcoholic drinks, that
Mhm.
anything under 150 calories is just doomed to be okay at best.
Interesting take.
You need more calories to make it good. You need more sugar, or you need more wheaty things. So, for being mostly water, not bad.
Yeah, not terrible.
If you exhale, you can almost taste the ocean.
So, anywho, Baywatch was remade and re-released in 2017. It did have a lengthy production cycle, because I think originally they were, trying to do it in 2010 or something?
Yeah, and I think they even announced it earlier than that in 2004 or 5, and then it just kind of got stuck in writing and rewriting and recasting hell.
Yeah, production hell. And so 2004, that's when it was.
Yep.
And so big names to the movie, which is not a bad thing. It had Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson taking on...
Who I watched it originally for, let's be real.
Yep. Who took on Mitch Buchanan. Zac Efron, who played Matt Brody.
Mm-hmm.
Purnik Chopra?
I can't pronounce her name, but I keep seeing her in, as I'm watching more movies. And I really like her as an actress. And I really liked this role for her, because her role was originally meant to be a male James Bond villain.
Yeah.
Sort of role. And they gave it to her, and honestly, I think she killed it. She was one of my favorite characters.
Yes, she plays Victoria Leeds in this. Alexandra Daddario, a personal favorite, who plays Summer Quinn.
She is also a favorite in the Feeblecorn House.
She is also winner of the Golden Schmoes Award, Best TNA of the Year for that movie.
I'm not surprised.
That was the highlight of the movie for me, personally.
Fair.
Kelly Roebuck as CJ Parker.
Who I actually really liked her portrayal, because CJ was originally played by Pamela, like I mentioned before. And Pamela's role really stuck out to me in the original TV show. And so seeing her play CJ felt really, it felt good. Like, she wasn't, just like Dwayne is not, David Hasselhoff by any stretch of the imagination.
God, no.
But
maybe in personality a bit.
They seem to have a similar sense of humor, don't they?
Or just for the movies, that movie specifically.
True. But I really liked her as CJ. I thought it was a good cast.
Oh, yeah. And then the very last of the big cast was John Bass, who played Ronnie Greenbaum.
Another excellent choice.
Yeah, I've never seen him in anything besides this, though.
Once you've seen him once, you'll start finding him in a bunch of other stuff that you didn't realize.
Interesting.
He's one of those names that sneaks into movies. And then once you find him and you realize that you like him, eventually you're just like, oh yeah, you're in 4 movies that I liked, and I totally didn't realize it.
Maybe I'll look up what he's done.
I think it's a lot of comedy, so that might be why you haven't run into him.
Yeah, that's probably why. And so, also there's one other, I was wrong. What's her name? Iflanesh Hadra?
I'm not sure.
Dara? Some of these names I don't know how to pronounce, but she played Stephanie Holden in this movie. Again, a lot of these people outside of Dwayne and Zach.
Those were definitely the 2 big name pulls for this movie.
And Hannibal Buress.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Of the main group.
Oh, hi, Charlie.
Yeah, of the main group, that's all I've really known.
Which, honestly, yeah. Do you like Baywatch too? But honestly, those three names were... I don't want to say strategically picked, because their roles were already made that way. That's kind of how characters are.
They just put a pretty face to a character.
Yeah. But honestly, I think it helped a lot, because I remember the trailers and commercials for this movie coming out, and I had a lot of friends who were like, well, I didn't ever see Baywatch. I don't know anything about Baywatch, but I like Zac Efron. I'm going to go watch this movie. Or I'm interested in seeing it. I don't think many of us went to go see it.
No, I know for a fact I did not see it in theaters. I heard briefly about it and then ignored it.
Turns out I did see it in theaters, I think, but we don't remember. We're pretty sure we saw it in theaters, but we honestly don't remember the experience of watching it. We just completely remembered the whole movie.
This is up for a good review so far. If you went and saw it in theaters and you don't remember it.
Didn't remember going. I did remember the movie, though.
Yeah. So, part of it, and I got some information on the movie from listening to interviews with the director, cast, and crew. Mm-hmm. So what they wanted to do from this was... They wanted to create a movie that was escapism, so something fun and stupid, but with heart.
Yeah.
And they also wanted to celebrate Baywatch and not necessarily spoof it or make fun of it, which I don't feel they were successful in.
If you haven't seen the original Baywatch, it definitely feels spoof-esque, especially because Baywatch... The original show did try to be somewhat serious. It never presented itself as a comedy show, I don't remember.
No.
But it was so over the top.
Yeah, I know. For its time, it was exciting because there hadn't been anything like that, really.
No, it was a very fresh take on TV. But yeah, I can see how, especially if you don't remember especially the Hawaii episodes, which I thought were a little bit more outlandish than the original plots. Yeah, I could see how, like, maybe something that was meant to be a direct reference and joke ends up being an over-the-top spoof feel.
Yeah.
And also, some of the gags are very spoofy in this film.
Yeah, and even some of, like, for me, like, the effects when it comes to, like, the fire and stuff, it was just very...
It felt forced.
A bit. So, how the movie kicks off is we have... Lieutenant Mitch Buchanan,
yes, we
Dwayne
do.
"The Rock" Johnson,
bless him,
running down the beach
in beautiful slow motion,
saying hi to everyone
because this is his beach.
Yeah, he's.
I will appreciate this though. I like that they bothered to the whole movie's set in Florida, which is not where any of the other Baywatches take place. The first one takes place in California.
Okay.
Mumbai, I think, and then there's the Hawaii one, and then. I think there's another one, but it's also not in Florida. And so they just kind of briefly are like, yeah, there's other branches of Baywatch. We're just the Florida branch, who happens to also have the exact same group of names and people. Yeah, well, kind of. They don't really address the fact that the names and overarching character themes have been directly ripped off from the from
so
the show.
I do actually have a thought from that. It kind of makes me think of Dread Pirates Robert.
Yes, it is very Dread Pirate Robertsy, but I like it because they don't ever talk about the name factor directly in the show.
That Mitch Buchanan is.
Also Mitch Buchanan. There's another one across the country, theoretically, who's much older than him.
Yeah, I have no clue.
But at the same time, they do acknowledge that, like, you've probably heard of Baywatch and you remember it being in Florida or Hawaii. Well, we're the Florida one, you know? The Florida Baywatch.
Yep.
It's totally normal.
And while he's running along, he's talking to everyone. He's got the surfer lingo. He's
everybody's best friend. Yeah. I like this setup because it does kind of show... It kind of sets up his character to be... He expects to always be in the right.
Well...
And also, like, he is justified in his crazy police-y antics, even though he is not a police.
Yeah, well, I mean, they really do a good job of establishing him as everyone's friend.
Yeah.
And then also putting on from the get-go that there's more to the beach. There's a kid playing and some drugs have washed ashore.
The most fake druggy drugs to ever druggy drug.
What did they even call the drugs?
I don't remember. It's just rock candy in a little Ziploc baggie with a sticker slapped on the front. And
Flocka.
That's
Flocka.
They called it Flocka, which honestly sounds like a delicious type of dip.
Yeah, well, they said it's a type of amphetamine.
Sure.
My first stupid logic mind connecting thing was Waka Flocka Flame.
Yeah, Flocka's just not a good name, really, for a drug.
No. And so, not only that, but it's also the day of they're having the big competition for the new recruits.
Which, I love their competition. It's dumb.
It is so stupid.
It's real stupid.
But we are introduced to the entire cast of character for the most part at this point. We have Stephanie Holden and CJ Parker are the veteran Baywatch.
Yep.
And we're introduced that, what's his name? The heavier guy. John, I only... Ronnie. Ronnie is...
He's gonna try out again this year.
Yeah. They're favoring him. They're
rooting for him.
They're rooting for him. He has a thing for CJ.
Yeah. The one question I have about this show is he on multiple occasions at the very beginning of the movie mentions, like, this is my year, I'm gonna, like, do better this year. Mm-hmm. He makes it sound like he's tried out for Baywatch before.
Yeah.
But then after he, like, succeeds and is now on Baywatch, they kind of ignore the fact that he's ever tried out before. And they also make some jokes about the fact that, like, that they wouldn't have asked him to take his shirt off if he'd tried out before, and the year before they made him take his shirt off, and we had discovered the afro nipples then.
Well, maybe he wasn't shaving before then.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But you see what I mean? Like, that's my only, like, real question as far as character development. Granted, there's so many plot holes in this. That's the only one I care about.
Okay.
This is the only plot hole I give any shits about.
That's where you draw the line in the sand. Afro nipples.
Afro nipples.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just so much crap to this movie.
Oh no, there's a ton of crap to this movie.
But I mean, on top of that, we're also established that Zac Efron's character's there. He's Matt Brody. He's the gung-ho pretty boy of the franchise.
Who I like that they wrote him as the gold medal winning and then rally team failing puke bucket, because it's so over the top it works. If he had just been a bad boy who rode into town and this was part of his probation, I wouldn't have given any shits about him, and I would not have even wanted him to be on Baywatch. But because he's now an Olympic champion who's also a shithead, I really want him on Baywatch.
I am so glad none of my family has seen this movie, because I have a really bad gag reflex.
Yep.
And I throw up more than most people probably.
I would agree with that.
I was in a pool once. I jumped in and I got water up my nose and I threw up.
The worst. Yeah. We've all been there.
There's a lot of memories and occasions where I've thrown up for stupid reasons.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're introduced to Matt Brody. Mm-hmm. He drives up in his motorcycle. He's a cool guy. He's got his aviators on, nice fitted shirt, and he thinks he has pick of anyone in the world. And then Alexandra Daddario walks by. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Delightful. I will say, from the beginning, their interaction, him attempting to flirt with her and her just brushing him off, the first instinct that my husband went was, it would be hilarious if she just, by the end of this movie, was not into him still whatsoever.
That would have been good.
That would have been hilarious.
But it
that's
wouldn't
not
have fit the cheese.
That wouldn't have been Baywatch cheese. That would have been too far.
Yeah.
Maybe next one.
Yeah. And so he shows up and he's like, oh, I'm already on the team. I'm already on the team.
I've got a note. He legit just drives up with a note being like, hey, you're hired.
And The Rock's like, no,
I don't give a shit about your note.
Nah, sorry, you're still gonna have to try out.
And then he proceeds to not even try to try out. He just sits on the side watching everyone else try out. And like, wow, that's some dedication to being an asshole right there.
And everyone's doing their trial, and it's stupid as shit.
It's a lot of sand obstacle course, which as someone who granted, never a beach lifeguard, but I was a water park lifeguard and a normal pool lifeguard. We never had to do an on-land obstacle course.
Well, it's got a great name, too.
It does have...
The Absentee Father.
The Absentee Father, which comes with a great, very passionate speech about why it's called that.
Yeah, and there's just... I don't know, this is another part of the movie where, like, they don't... Like, they hint at something, but they don't explain it, that CJ's character has daddy issues.
Yeah, but then they never bring it up again whatsoever to any capacity. And I like the background actors' expressions during this. Honestly, the background actors' expressions for the whole movie is pretty fantastic. This is some real great, like, background nonsense person looking, because there's some gold expressions and reactions to her having sad daddy issues. There's a woman in the back who's truly sad and terrified for this woman.
And we have skipped over a key part of the movie.
Ah, yes.
The dick in the beach chair.
The dick in the beach chair kind of solidifies the humor for this movie, so if that isn't funny to you, yeah, skip this one.
Well, that's the thing they were going for. They were going for college-level humor to begin with.
And honestly, some college-level humor is too much college-level humor for me. This one is that perfect sweet spot where no one's embarrassed enough that I get secondhand embarrassment and then can't finish the movie, but it's also dumb enough that I giggle.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was funny. It was very funny to me.
It made me think of a Baywatch version of Meet the Parents. Or no, not Meet the Parents.
It felt like an SNL skit
what about Mary? Franks and Beans!
It did feel Franks and Beansy. Or, some SNL skit bullshit.
Yeah.
But, like, I wasn't going into this movie expecting anything different. I think maybe this part was even teased in the trailer. So, like, I was coming to this movie for some Franks and Beans bullshit. And I got it. I got it full force. They didn't hold back, which if you're gonna make dick jokes, make dick jokes. Don't beat around a bush. But
we'll leave that there. But yeah, and so they go through this stupid obstacle course where they gotta run through the sand, they gotta swim.
The sand running makes sense. The wall climbing, are there walls on your beach that you need to scale?
Chris, this is Baywatch.
This is true.
They may need to climb the side of a skyscraper.
This is true. If it was anything other than Baywatch, I would have been really upset by the life-saving techniques presented in this movie.
That's right, you were a lifeguard.
I was. For many years, I was a lifeguard. And boy howdy, please don't dive headfirst in to save people. This is a terrible idea. This is how you also need saving. But you know what? It's The Rock. I don't care.
It's a movie.
It's Baywatch the movie, which gives it 2 passes.
Yeah.
And it used both of them.
Yep. And then Efron chilling on the beach. Rock comes over and he's like, "Hey, if you can beat me at this, I'll let you in."
And then Zac Efron's character proceeds to do a very fancy obstacle course, which looked a lot like the American Ninja Challenge or Ninja Warrior Challenge. It is one of those TV shows where people had to do really crazy gymnastics to win, and then people ended up being really good at it. I don't know if it's still on.
Oh, American Ninja?
Yeah. American Ninja Warrior had some pretty crazy, wow, they've got velociraptors outside now.
Yes, screaming children have migrated outside of my building.
Ah, fancy. But yeah, it reminded me of something akin to that, which was impressive, but it wasn't the one The Rock was talking about, which makes me wonder about the little teeny tiny scene before this happened that isn't in the movie or wasn't written in, where Zac Efron's character just looks at a random obstacle course and goes, "Gonna go do that one," and just marches over and starts doing it without any, explanation on what to do.
Yeah, fun little bit about that scene. The Rock could not do that type of obstacle course. Zac Efron's body or stunt double could not do that obstacle course.
Yep.
Zac Efron was the only person who could do it. So all the footage of him doing it is him straight up doing it. He got jacked for this movie.
He did. And I remember some interviews with him saying that, he didn't really plan on ever being this ripped again. It was really hard for him to get down to that level. But he looked really great for the movie, so, good job there. But also, I get it. Because while granted The Rock can't do that obstacle course, The Rock still looks like The Rock. And if you're not The Rock and you stand next to The Rock, you look like a noodle human, despite how fit you are.
Yeah, and they show with the big boy courses that he can lift up the refrigerators and all that.
Move the giant tire, that whole nonsense.
Exactly. It's like Philip's strength compared to Brian's strength.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brian is very, very good tennis strength. Phil lifts things.
Yes. Phil repairs trucks and stuff.
Brian holds lights. Love you, Brian.
He's not listening.
No, he is not.
We did skip over a little bit real quick. The Rock goes into the city council and tells them, hey, there's more going on here. And he's basically like, hey, you're a lifeguard, do your job.
Yeah.
But he also goes in to confront about Brody, saying, hey, he's got to earn it still.
Yeah, and this is one of the scenes that is a little... Like, it was good, but also, like, Because the city pretty much tells him, don't worry about the drugs, but we're also not going to do anything about it. But also... Yeah,
it's not your job to look into the drugs.
But at no point are they like, it's not your job, but don't worry, we've hired a crime division to look into this. No, like, they're just like, it's not your job. Put the drugs back on the beach.
Or, no, they're like, we'll look into it.
Yeah, very loosely.
But the other thing, too, is that when we talked about how this movie established, one, its comedy, the overall drug theme, and then also the, now you also have established that there's tension between the Baywatch and the city officials.
Yes. And this is the first hint that you get that the city official is snaky. Because, again,
he's a sneaky snake.
He's a sneaky snake. Mostly because he doesn't really seem to give two shits about what the characters are telling him. And also, this is the part of the movie where, and he purposefully goes back on himself. The Rock says, well, he's got to earn it. And they go, yeah, of course he has to do the tryouts. And then later on, they're like, no, he was always, we always wanted him.
Yeah.
So this is the part where you start getting that hint.
Yeah. And so after the obstacle course, there is an accident.
Ah, yes, the first one.
Children fall off a pier into the water. Okay,
one child falls off a pier. Another child is full on yeeted off of that pier.
No, the mom jumps in for it.
Yeah, the mom jumps in, but like, I don't know. I think it was potentially just the way the stunt was filmed. Yeah. Was it kind of made it look like instead of like accidentally slipping off of a pier, it kind of made it look like the child went fly and like jumped off the pier.
And we get more slow motion.
We do get more slow motion, and we also get the first example of how Baywatch saves someone versus how Zac Efron's character attempts to save people.
He commandeers a motorcycle to drive down the boardwalk to jump into the water. Yep,
jumps into the water.
They're on their the Baywatch is on their 4x4s to swim out there.
You know, wearing swimsuits and also coming in with flotation devices.
To be fair, Zac Efron's character is a professional swimmer.
It's true. He is a professional swimmer.
We have no idea if he's ever been trained in lifeguard.
Probably not.
No, because he's a showboat.
He is a showboat. He also gets smacked in the face almost immediately, which that's kind of the first thing you get taught as a lifeguard, regardless of if you're on Baywatch or not, is panicking people panic, and they are not there to...
Exactly. That's the biggest thing with drowning victims that we learned in like Boy Scouts and stuff, is if someone's drowning, you try and get a stick out to them or something that they can hold on to, because that's what they'll do instinctively, and that's why a lot of inexperienced first responders or just people trying to help drown as well is because they're pushed down by that person.
It's also why you see the stupid hot dog noodles. Those things are hella freaking buoyant. They're there for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
And granted, Baywatch doesn't get dumb hot dog noodles, which is disappointing because I distinctly remember being forced to like sit 4-person a noodle to do lifeguard Olympics, which is kind of like Baywatch's trials, only dumber. And we were already on the team.
Interesting.
But yeah.
So there is some merit their trying.
No, there is some merit, and there are actual, like, real lifeguard competitions nationwide. I never participated in them. I was never that serious. And I know that beach level, they are like a totally different beast. So there are some things that Baywatch the movie does get right.
Yeah.
That I like. And this is part of one of the scenes that kind of helps solidify, like, Baywatch is a trained group of professionals, thus Brody shouldn't be on the team.
Yeah.
Granted, they don't harp on this a lot, because again, we're dealing with drug dealers and a corrupted political system? / a sad cop who just really wants a chocolate shake.
I like the cop.
I like the cop. The cop's pretty cool in this
There
one.
could have been more of a dynamic between him and The Rock.
There could have been, but the amount they gave us was enough.
It was enough. I could have used a little bit more, but...
Fair.
I'm glad they didn't incorporate him too much.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point in the movie, we were also informed that Summer, Ronnie, and Matt are all part of the team now.
They're all part of the team. Ronnie made it. Good job, Ronnie.
Yes, because he has heart.
Which, fair.
It sounds like some stupid Yu-Gi-Oh! Bullshit plot.
It does sound like a stupid...
You have the heart of the lifeguard.
Yeah, I do kind of wish that they had gone on to show Ronnie actually ended up being, like, really good at, I don't know, CPR or swimming. Yeah, because I knew a lot of chunky kids who were really good at swimming. Like, they were fast in the water. You don't have to be super thin if you're not competing in the Olympics. And sometimes it helps a lot in the ocean. But
yeah, I personally sink like a rock because, for the most part, I am Twiggy.
This is true. The bigger you are, the more likely you are to float. I will not say guaranteed, because I also taught lessons, and boy howdy did some of my kids sink like little stones. They weren't built to float. But yeah, I kind of wish Ronnie's character had been a little bit more fleshed out on, like, maybe he was good at only one part of the trial. Like, maybe he was really good at knowing, like, the codes and the rules, or driving an ATV or something.
He does kind of address it because he mentions, am I going to be the IT guy?
Yeah, he's the IT guy.
Yeah, he's afraid he's going to be that because he is an IT guy.
Yeah, which he does kind of end up being the IT guy, which, fine.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see a little bit, like, not even a ton, just like a little salt sprinkle worth of development there, but that's really nitpicky of me.
Yeah. And we also find out that Brody is just sleeping under the bay.
He's homeless.
And
/ refuses to go anywhere else.
And so, since he's part of the team, they're going to extend the olive branch and take him to someone's place. Summer leads him off.
Yeah, and they make it sound like, oh, it's my friend's house, she'll totally take care of you. It's not her friend's house, it's The Rock's house.
I love the little bit of his house we see. He's got a fish tank with a little version of himself.
I live for the little version of The Rock. I want them because I have a fish tank. It's not a big fish tank, but I would do anything to have little miniature versions of The Rock in my fish tank.
Little Mitch.
Little Mitch. And Little Mitch changes throughout the movie, which is a fun little, like... it's like a really corny way of knowing how Mitch is feeling is Mitch's fish tank.
Yeah.
And I love it.
I like it too, just because it's...
I want mini versions of me in my fish tank for all of my different moods.
No, I can't handle fish.
Mini Mitch was delightfully stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch's house in general is just kind of real dumb and stupid, and I like it. The lack of detail in some areas and the over detail, like the CB radio and the closet. The fact this man just has a cot for people to crash on, but it's in a closet. It's not even like in the living room or in a spare room. It's in like this weird storage closet. Creepy storage closet.
Kind of like our recording studio.
Yeah, at least this is like a functioning closet, though.
Yes, it is.
No fish tank that's staring at me with binoculars.
I will not get a fish tank for here.
I'll get one.
Please don't. But yeah, so... And there's still tension between Brody and Mitch.
Yeah, and I will say, the pacing of Brody's character development is pretty nice for this movie. Mm-hmm. It's long enough to feel like real development, because he's leaning into the I'm gonna have a place to stay that's not the beach right now, but he at no point like actually changes like right yet. He's still very much the selfish asshole who just happens to now be sleeping on a cot with a miniature Mitch staring at him.
Don't look at mini Mitch.
Don't look at him.
And so, cut to the next day, where they're learning their places and everything.
It's a good little montage of, like, lifeguard training, kind of.
And surprise.
Another accident.
Yacht's on fire.
Yacht's on fire.
We do learn a little bit more that the business owner of the Huntley Club.
Yes, we're introduced to our villain.
The day before, we were seeing that she's bribing city councilmen.
She's bribing city councilmen. She's also, like, trying to get on the good side of Mitch because she knows that he's the king of the beach, and boy, wouldn't that be nice. We also... The character design... There's not a lot of character design in Baywatch. It's big boobs, butts, swimsuits, except for her. Her clothing choices and, like, the way she holds herself reminds me so much of Cruella de Vil, and I love it.
She has very beautiful dresses, though.
She has a lot of very beautiful dresses, which even my delightful husband, who wears the same shorts that he has worn since 8th grade, even he noticed that multiple of her dresses will only look good on this person.
Yeah.
If anybody else wore that, it would look silly, but
they
on
are
her,
shaped to her body, and oh boy.
They look fantastic. And the only sort of person apparently who can get away with that is an evil villain. And I love it.
All the costumes are very fitting.
They are.
So, anywho, yacht's on fire. They take their jet skis out. And, God, I hate the fire in this scene so much.
The fire is probably the worst looking part of this movie, which is saying something because most people are shirtless. And we do get to see, afro nipples at one point.
Kind of. This is one of the few movies that I've actually seen the deleted scenes because there wasn't much else commentary-wise to go off of.
The deleted scenes in this one, if you haven't seen them, they are pretty funny.
Yeah, they're actually not bad.
They're not bad.
We get to see the afro nipples a lot earlier.
There's a lot more afro nipples in the uncut one.
Yeah, and we get to see the Rock stick up for him at the same time too. So.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah. But anywho, they go onto this yacht to save the damsels in distress
from the CGI fire.
Yes. We get another slow-mo shot of The Rock jumping off the jet ski over the fire.
He did into a nice clear dive. Patch. It was no Captain Jack Sparrow dive, but it was a good dive.
I don't know anything about diving, so I can't say.
It was just a very elegant dive.
Elegant dive.
It was an elegant dive in slow motion.
Okay.
Yeah. Nothing fancy.
Yeah.
But he went forward. Went in the water.
Head first
into the water. Head first into the fire, like you do.
And so he gets on the boat. There's some drugged out
girls.
Floozies.
Yep. Manages to ship them off the boat. Saves them.
One of them has time to try and get him.
Yes, she does. She does propose that maybe they have time for some one-on-one action.
Yes.
Personal saving.
Personal swim lessons. And I appreciate his responses to just fling her off the boat. Peace.
Bye.
Be gone, thought.
And granted, this is kind of the scene that sets the action level of dumb for the movie. Like, none of this is very realistic. This is all incredibly silly, but it's fun.
This is probably the most action we actually get in the movie.
True. Everything else is a lot of, like, going to a party and pretending to be fancy.
Yeah. And so, after saving the people on the yacht, they find out that Rodriguez, the who Leeds had been talking to earlier, is one of the murder victims on a boat. Suspected murder victims. Zac Efron almost kills himself as well in this scene.
Attempts to go under the fire just like The Rock and fails miserably.
Because he gets caught under it and doesn't know where he's going.
Like a dumbass.
And then he is saved by Summer.
Who's at least paying attention.
Yes. I had a little moment of, if I was a high school boy again, that would be the lifeguard I'd try and drown.
Yeah. You're gonna drown in front of them and hope for the best?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, I'd still do it, but...
Nah, apparently the way is to choke on hot dog. This movie proved it.
Yeah.
Or carrot, or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah, I forget that,
Rodney's character.
Yeah.
Attempts to accidentally chokes on a little piece of carrot before the whole thing starts.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's how he gets his dick stuck in the pool chair.
Because CJ hump Heimlichs him.
Voraciously thrusts at him.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. I love it.
Again, college level humor.
It's very college level humor. But now we know that not only were the floozies on the boat and one guy suspected murder, but it's quickly noted that the sticker that was on the drugs that were found on the beach also spotted on the floozies. It's rampant drugs are everywhere.
It sounds like something from Super Troopers.
Oh yeah, it totally does.
By the way, I have a quick corrections on one of our previous episodes. We referred to, I can't remember exactly what it was, but we said Super Troopers. Mm-hmm. We meant to say Starship Troopers.
Yes, we did.
Now you know exactly.
Yeah, whoops.
Yeah. So, anywho, they've decided that they're going to investigate the flocka. They're going to go and find Rodriguez's body in the morgue.
Yep, they're going to just sneak right into the morgue, no problem, and look at his file.
As one does.
Because that's totally not going to be a problem. Luckily, this is an action movie, apparently, so it's not a problem. They just kind of waltz in there.
Well, so I forgot to follow up with many of the medical people I know in my life about this scene, because while they're there getting the police report or the autopsy and everything to prove that he was murdered, they hide themselves away. They
hide themselves in the coolers, which, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think they open from the inside. In the real world.
So I didn't question that. I questioned more so the dripping of the fat.
Okay, so I know some about bodies, because I have fun pastimes where that's the avenue of YouTube that I end up down. And yes, dead bodies do make fluid, and they do puddle, and yes, you can get liquid fat.
Okay.
My main question was, why is the body dripping onto what is presumably supposed to be the body below that body? And we're in the morgue for science purposes.
That is a good point.
I don't think that part is very realistic. I think most morgues contain the dripping to one body.
Well, and even then, I think they mentioned that it's due to the embalming fluids.
Which, okay, so...
doesn't make sense either, because it's a hospital morgue.
It is a hospital morgue, and also The Rock called it formaldehyde, which the way you preserve things that way is not necessarily the way we preserve bodies anymore.
It's like that movie, like when we watched Autopsy, and they had the body of humans.
Just kind of...
not body of humans, the tank filled with formaldehyde in humans.
Yes. That is a method of preserving some things. We don't put bodies in formaldehyde for, keeping them for... Because you're... As a more person, you would like to assume that this person probably has a family member who would like to have the body back. Mm-hmm. So you don't usually just dip them in formaldehyde, so much so that you liquefy this person's fat, and then it drips onto Zac Efron's beautiful face.
Yeah.
That part, I agree. Little dumb. However, it does provide some plot movement.
Yeah.
So I will let it slide by. We also just walked into a morgue, so whatever.
And the henchmen come in, too, and...
I kind of like these henchmen. They're just hinchy enough that I don't care about them, but they're also kind of normal looking, which I like.
Yeah,
they're just kind of bro looking, and I appreciate it.
They're just dudes.
They're just dudes. I don't need all my henchmen to look like they can take on somebody. I like a bro henchman.
Yeah, I like them too. And so, what do they decide to do? They decide to infiltrate a club. They're
going to infiltrate the club that they assume all the drugs are coming out of, mostly because this is the only club that we've been introduced to on the beach.
It's the only club. There's no other club.
There's no other clubs in all of Florida.
And this actually has a bit of good development to it, I think.
Yeah, I like this part.
I like that they try walking in all badass.
And it doesn't work.
One of them runs into a plant.
Two of them run into the plant because she runs into the plant, and then Rodney, who's right behind her, apparently looking at her butt, also runs into the same plant.
I mean...
He's just not given the spotlight because he's like 4 feet behind her.
I would be looking at the butt.
I understand. Plant smacks me in the face because I'm looking at a butt. Understandable.
But yeah, I mean... Honestly, their dresses are beautiful, too, in this scene.
Yeah, I will appreciate that somehow these ladies on a lifeguard budget have managed to afford very beautiful dresses.
Mm-hmm.
I also really appreciate what The Rock's character chose to wear to a formal event.
Remind me, it's not sticking with me right now.
He wears what can only be described as a park ranger shirt, but for Baywatch, and flip-flops.
Huh.
He wears flip-flops, which I like that he wears flip-flops because
that's right.
It feels right because that's his character. Is he is part of the ocean. He is the ocean man. Mm-hmm. But also, like,
we also forgot before this, real quick, them going over the cases at lunch.
Oh yeah, and Ronnie's the only one who ordered a salad. Bless his little heart.
And also him in the showers.
Yeah,
the co-ed showers.
The co-ed showers. Granted. His rendition of Fireworks was very good. It was nicely sung. It is a hard song to sing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he never got the memo that this is a co-ed shower that we shower in our swimsuits in, and he is butt-ass naked.
Hey, got it if you flaunt it. Or flaunt it if you got it.
And apparently Ronnie's got it.
He's packing.
Because most of the entire crew comes walking in on him showering.
It's big enough to get stuck in a beach chair.
It's big enough to be stuck in a beach chair. And there's a couple of deleted scenes where they, like, continue the running gag of him running down the beach in his underwear / bathing suit is too small.
He's got that little flop to it.
Yeah. So, like, good for you, Ronnie, I guess. I do like that his character is... He's always... I wouldn't say he's the butt of jokes. He's just got terrible luck to an extent. But he handles it in a way that makes the movie and that type of humor watchable. As opposed to just, like, constantly railing on the poor guy. Yeah,
it's not over the top and super self-deprecating. Like,
no. And, like, honestly, the only, like, bad repercussion that came from that scene is that the others walk in and snicker a little bit. But honestly, like, not enough to warrant, like, public humiliation.
Yeah, exactly. And so, not only are they there to somewhat party,
but they're mostly...
Brody's there to party.
I will say, though, I like Brody's approach to the investigation, because they go in and they're Scooby-Dooed up into sections, they're all going to do a different thing.
He doesn't want to be there.
He doesn't want to be there, but I like his approach where he goes, guys, if you want me to find drugs, give me 5 minutes and I will go get you drugs.
Exactly.
And honestly, like, that would have been a better plan.
But we would not have seen Ronnie's sweet-ass dance.
This is true. And I like how, I think it might have been the back of the box, called Ronnie... They didn't just say, like, oh, this is a ploy. They, like, specifically call him the king of disco as, like, this is good disco dancing.
Yeah.
Which, like, granted, it's not bad disco dancing. It's just, it's not meant for Rodney. Maybe Summer or CJ.
He pulls it off.
But he does. He does a great job, and, like, he commits to it. He goes full in for it. And, like, it's pretty good dancing.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's better than I can move.
Fact. And also, like...
You say that so matter-of-fact that it's the truth.
Nico, we are two white people sitting in a closet talking about movies. Let's be real here.
I know.
We cannot dance.
I can't even do the... What's that shuffle one?
The Macarena?
No, Net Slide to the Left.
Oh.
The
Slide to the Left song.
The song that tells you how to do the dance.
It's okay. I once taught dance. Granted, very low level dance. It was mostly for learning how to use forks and knives. But yeah, don't feel bad. A lot of people cannot remember which way is left and which way is right. Watching collisions, fantastic entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and Rodney rocks it and turns out to be a fantastic distraction.
So that way, The Rock and Stephanie can get into the kitchen to check their fish supplier because...
Just full on Fred and Velma it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they went, yeah. we find out the whole reason they're even at the party to begin with, because they originally turned it down.
Mm-hmm.
They showed up because they noticed earlier that the fish coming into the building is not the fish they actually serve.
No. And also, from the get-go, the Rock's character is fairly certain that the fishing boat is tied to this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
He spends a lot of time looking at it with his binoculars. There's a lot of weird divers coming and going from the boat.
A lot of squinted eyes.
A lot of squinty, shifty business.
Yeah. And so Brody is bought off by a
very
nice
nice
bottle of scotch.
Yes, very fancy.
He gets shit-faced.
He makes his way through almost half that bottle real fast.
Hey, you're an alcoholic.
But if you're an alcoholic, you know...
Yeah.
I kind of appreciate this scene too, because it does actually add to Brody's character development.
It leads to his low point.
It does. And not just because he's easily bought out and then humiliated again because he pukes again in a pool, and then everyone remembers that he's the, like, puke tornado.
He's the vomit comet.
That's it, vomit comet.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to my parents listening to this episode at all.
Don't worry, there's a bunch of other versions of Vomit Comet.
Please don't tell them that.
Okay. But while he's bought off because he feels useless and unwanted, and he kind of does a little monologue speech to the villain, who then feels bad for him and buys him the alcohol, and he's like, oh, at least someone appreciates and remembers me for, like, actually winning 2 gold medals. And
doing something.
And I did something. Like, why does everyone only remember the time I puked in the pool?
Yeah. Well, before that, because it's also great, too, because we learn that The Rock did know who he was.
Oh, yeah.
He was, or is this, it might be the next scene, it's the scene after. But yeah, he tries to stand up to The Rock saying, hey, we're not supposed to be here to begin with. We're just lifeguards.
Yeah.
Tries to, intimidate him.
Which,
Gets spooked into the water, and that's where he throws up.
Yeah.
Which, my biggest issue with that scene is he a little bit pukes into the water.
There's a little dribble.
And then everyone jumps in.
Yeah. Okay, so, lifeguard story time.
Yay.
There have been multiple occasions as a lifeguard where people puke in the pool. That's a pretty common one. And you would think that people should leave the pool so you can clean the pool, right? False. The pool that I worked at for many years had a policy that unless it was real bad, if it was a little dribble like what Brody did, you scoop it out and you say nothing. People can continue. Now, poo. Poo is a different story. There were different rules for different kinds of poo. However, I had multiple people, not just children, full-grown adults, who would look at the poo in the pool and look at me and go, excuse me, can I get in the pool? And I'd be like, no, you nasty.
Oh, God. Public swimming pools are so disgusting. The beach is disgusting.
Oh, the beach is at least not chlorinated, so, like, be ready for that if you...
Oh,
but,
God.
but yeah, like, I dribble puked into the pool, and people then got into the pool a couple minutes later. Not surprising or jolting to me whatsoever, especially because it's just a little alcohol puke. There's not chunks of hot dog floating in this one, so we're good.
Yeah.
Easy to scoop out and keep going.
Yeah. And so, in the next scene, Brody wakes up under the pier. The entire bottle is gone.
Yeah. I'm impressed he made it back to the pier. That was like a 300-meter walk. He made it.
Maybe.
I don't know. Someone dumped him there.
And so he walks back. He's ready to join he's like, hey, I'm sorry. I messed up. I wasn't there for you guys. And that's when we find out that, yes, The Rock does know who he is. Rock and Stephanie do know who he is.
Of course they know who he is.
But they're disappointed in who he is.
Yeah, and I will say that it's not much of a character arc, but there's a hint of a character arc for The Rock's character going from the I always know what's right and I can always help someone mindset to just coming to the realization that sometimes you can't help someone, they have to help themselves.
Yeah. And also we learn another body's washed ashore.
This one is a shark attack. Dun dun dun. But it's definitely not a shark attack.
No.
In fact, as an audience, you know it's not because we witness Thing 1 and Thing 2 shoving Chum into a guy's bathing suit. And
Hannibal Burrs.
And then, like, rolling him off the boat and being like, all right, hope a shark eats him.
Stupid.
Yeah, this is a bad body disposal plan, by the way, but, like, okay.
None of the henchmen can dispose of bodies.
No, they are all real terrible at this.
Ugh.
And also, this body washes ashore pretty quickly after they dispose of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we transition pretty quickly to chaos on the beach. Because...
Kind of. Because chaos in regards to the Baywatch team.
Yes.
Because Mitch tries to bring it up to the police guy, and he's like, or this city head of the city, and he's like, dude, you're way too into this. It's
go
not
back
what
to
you
your
think.
lifeguard stand. Get out of here.
Or no, just, hey, you're fired. You're not.
Yeah.
There's been 2 dead bodies on your watch.
Yep. Yeah. And one of them washed up while you were supposed to be on watch. Which, granted, that's, even by Baywatch standards, that's pretty bad. You don't want something happening while you're not there.
No. And so he's fired.
Yep. And
Brody.
Immediately, we're going to just promote Brody, who I'm honestly not sure Brody knows how to do CPR.
Because he is a face.
He is a face, and...
He's a mouthpiece.
Yeah. And they know that... They also inform him that if he does not take the job, they're going to fuck with his probation.
Mm-hmm.
Which I like that they throw that in there, because otherwise it doesn't feel like a weighty enough threat. Especially because the city council guy, both Brody and The Rock, could easily crush him with their biceps.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that there's more weight to this threat feels more justified.
Yeah. And so while they're going their ways, the entire Baywatch team is unhappy because they don't like Brody. Brody
also,
still hasn't made it up to them.
Yeah, and also Brody at no point explains to them that he's being blackmailed into taking the job, which I don't really understand why you wouldn't, other than the fact that maybe he doesn't want them to know that, like, I am here because the court tells me I must be.
But he's also trying to be sneaky about it too.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to take Mitch's place.
Yeah,
he sees a couple sand grifters.
Yep, he at least does try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which...
This is the start of him trying to make himself a better person.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of curious. And honestly, he probably has the best character arc of anyone.
Oh yeah, easily.
Because while he's trying to do it, he sees people stealing property on the beach.
With a really cool device.
Really cool cooler that they just set down, press a button.
And the bottom, like, trapdoor snaps.
Or, I don't know how it works.
I don't know either. Like,
It's TV magic.
It's TV magic, but it's cool cooler. You put it over the top of whatever you want to steal, and yoink, the thing is now in the cooler.
The Rock has to put on regular shoes.
This part is hilarious to me because I also think it was Sprint actually played this part of the movie as a commercial for a while, because I do remember this part to some extent. The Rock selling Sprint phones.
Yeah,
and. Boy, it looks bad. The Rock should never be a salesperson. It just doesn't fit. He's too big. He's too tall. He's a little bit intimidating.
But he's a teddy bear.
He is.
From what we know of him. We don't know of him personally.
I know, but like, I appreciate that they thought to themselves, what is the most non-Baywatch job that we can give this character? I know. He can sell Sprint phones. Yep.
We get our first cameo.
We do.
Which I honestly love this approach for cameos.
Same.
Because they wanted it to feel more than just like a cameo.
Yeah.
Because normally, like, if we see Stan Lee in a cameo, he's just kind of there.
It's also a little Easter eggy. Because, like, for a while there, they were...
Kind of subtle.
They were kind of subtle, and then everyone caught on to it, and, like, it just kind of felt like an expected part of the movie. That if you didn't see it, you were like, well, was this even the movie?
Yeah.
Whereas this cameo feels like an acknowledgement to what the Hoff originally did.
Oh yeah, he shows up and he's like, "You're wearing closed-toed shoes.
You're wearing business shoes, man. What's wrong with you?
You belong on the beach.
You are the beach."
Yeah, and so it just stupid shit of like. Them discovering that, okay, the dead body turns out to be Ronnie's friend.
That we briefly met at the very beginning of the movie. that he used to work with in IT.
Yeah, and now Ronnie's the guy who has to break into the computer. He's now the tech guy.
He's now full on the tech dude.
And then they decide to crash Lead's personal yacht.
Which, interesting choice, but okay. Because I feel like with a big mansion party, you can just kind of show up and, like, be there and not... You don't have to interact with the host. You could totally just meld into the crowd.
To be fair, the yacht is not that big.
No, the yacht's pretty small, which is why, like, you clearly didn't have an invitation.
They're able to sneak around enough.
They are.
And there's a person being held hostage in the base of the boat.
Granted, that's fair. They do need to go save this random businessman who somehow the villain wants to kill him so that she can buy his stuff.
They explain it at the party where he's the last building owner.
Oh,
and she wants him to sell.
So that she can own kind of a monopoly along the beach.
Exactly. So they can front Flocka.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so they get the guy out, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, they rescue him and then they totally leave Brody to his death. But it's fine.
Yeah, because, I mean, Brody goes to find it. It's being stored under the boat, like The Rock said.
Of course it's under the boat. A very barnacly boat.
Yes.
But you know what? It's good disguise.
Yeah. And so he's thrown in a cage, tossed in the ocean to drown. And
then, like the goddess from above, he is rescued.
By Daddario.
Who turns out to be The Rock.
Yes, who is The Rock.
He just dreamed it was her. Nope, it's The Rock.
I would do the same.
I mean, fair.
But yeah, so he's brought back to life.
Yep.
They go to a float or some structure that's out in the ocean that's supposed to be for fireworks.
It's like a barge thing, I guess. This is the one part that, like, I don't care, because this is the end of the Baywatch movie, and we've already established all of the bullshit beforehand, and I've already explained my one plot hole that I care about.
Mm-hmm.
But her backup plan from having her yacht party spoiled is she's going to have her helicopter come pick her up on the barge with fireworks on it. Now, I'm not an engineer, and I'm not a helicopter pilot, but I feel like helicopter and fireworks I don't feel like they should be near each other.
Unless you're shooting them from the helicopter.
Yeah, you can shoot them from the helicopter, I guess. I honestly never heard of helicopters shooting fireworks. Guns, yeah.
I mean, they shoot rockets, yeah. They can shoot fireworks.
Yeah, it's like the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's someone out there who's like, they are not the same thing.
It just made me think of how I recently was listening to the last podcast on the left again, and Henry Zabrowski described a helicopter as a basket with blades on it.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not.
He's not wrong. He's not right, but he's not wrong.
No.
But yeah, her basket with blades on it is going to come rescue her from the fireworks boat. And I guess in her mind, like, the fireworks are on a timer and it's not time for them to go off yet, so it's like the perfect getaway. But little does she know, they have a hacker man in their midst.
Hacker man. Which, not terrible hacking, but it's fine.
It's fine.
But yeah, so they go out there. They're trying to stop the fireworks. The Rock and Brody are out on there fighting the big guys. They're the muscle, trying to prevent her from escaping.
Yep.
The Rock gets shot off and comes back up saying the stupidest shit ever.
Love this line. It's the dumbest thing. Because yeah, he gets shot and then somehow manages to come back from the dead, even though we clearly see that he gets shot in the shoulder. But, like, you know, maybe it's fatal. Action. No, he then monologues about being one with the ocean and how he can't die because the beach isn't dead or some nonsense like that.
Oh, dude, I just realized what it made me think of. And the only reason this is in my mind right now is because Kevin Smith has said he's down to make a Tusk 2.
Yes.
The whole walrus speech.
Yeah.
Where at the end, all men are just walruses.
It's very similar ranty level nonsense.
Yes.
Yeah. And it, you know, because he has this long-winded speech, it gives the hacker time to hack the fireworks, and then I don't know, somehow we managed to break off a firework, aim it at the villain, but we haven't disrupted the electrical cable sending the signal to the rocket, and we kill her. We literally blow her to smithereens, which I like that part. That's fun.
I love the body parts and viscera that fall at this point.
It's just like legs falling from the sky.
It's so cheesy.
It's so dumb. It's clearly like a plastic leg with some ketchup on the end sort of thing. It's real stupid. I love it. And then we get the final news, the final tension point. How did The Rock's character survive being shot?
Sea urchin.
Sea urchin, which was established at the beginning of the movie as being incredibly deadly, because you'll get a boost of adrenaline, and then you die.
Get a boost of adrenaline, say a bunch of stupid shit, and then die.
Luckily, this is Baywatch, and we cannot let our main character die, so he's fine.
Nope. And after this, the beach is saved.
The beach is saved!
The flocka is no longer an issue.
Supposedly.
And now they're all around a table having a meeting of what's going to happen next.
Small detail from this, and I don't know if you noticed. Did you notice what they were all eating second round at this table?
I did not.
They all were having salad.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice little touch.
That's cute.
And so while they're saying they're going to be together as a team, they say that they have a new captain. New captain,
that she had been successfully managing the branch of the Hawaii division for quite a while now.
Casey Jean.
Yes.
Pamela Anderson.
The original CJ.
Walking in extreme slow motion.
Oh, the slowest of slow motion. And of course all the characters mention it and note on it, and it's a whole running gag.
Yeah.
But it's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's cheesy slow motion, but I like it because it's literally just her. Yeah. Everyone else is going at normal speed except for old CJ.
It kind of makes me think of that scene in Fooly Cooley at I think it's in the first episode when she gives him the kiss.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's the slow motion around it. How did you do that? We had to hold our breaths really long.
Yeah, it feels like that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a stupid ending to a stupid movie.
Yeah, it felt appropriate. Especially because we'd had the Hoff in it earlier. And so the other main character was CJ. The other memorable character was CJ. So, having both of them show up was nice.
Fine little cameos.
Yeah, they were cute.
So I kind of want to ask you a couple questions about this movie.
I might be able to answer them.
Well, maybe not about the movie specifically, but a topic we brought up about 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. Baldness and masculinity.
Yes, we have noticed a new trend.
Yes, because we briefly mentioned it in the movie with Vin Diesel. Mm-hmm. that there's this shift.
There is a shift because I would say that there was never a strong, hard and fast rule against being bald and being the main action lead. Mm-hmm. But I would say that more and more...
started with Jason Statham in The Meg.
Yes. But yeah, I would say more and more I'm seeing this trend of, baldness not necessarily defining a role quite as heavily as it used to.
I think it's more of a focus on character at this point. Or not just character, but personality. Yeah,
I would agree with that. Because there's a lot of options that could have been picked for the main lead of Baywatch. Mm-hmm. You're really just looking for someone who can be, even honestly, mediocrely muscular. Like, the original Baywatch was a classic sort of good-looking... We've talked about this very briefly outside, but...
Yeah, where it feels very classic James Bond looking.
Yeah, strong jawline, beautiful face is what we're really looking at. Good hair.
Yeah.
And then the body is just kind of there. It'd be nice to have a good body. And
and it's not a bad body. It's a very much like James Bond old action hero where they're not shredded. No. You can tell there's some strength and muscle there, but it's covered by a thin layer of blubber.
A thin layer of champagne.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we talked about it a little bit, where I sent a gif of Hasselhoff.
In his later years.
And there's aging that's happening.
There is. And bless him, he's always been kind of a good sport with Baywatch, because he really did take that show on under his wing. He was kind of the pioneer of the show. Yeah, I found out after the first season was canceled, he was one of the pioneers of getting it back syndicated. Yeah, which, So he clearly is very passionate about it, and he's never been shy about putting on a swimsuit, even as he's aged. He still doesn't care.
And making fun of himself. He showed up in the SpongeBob movie where his pecs open up and shoot SpongeBob and Patrick.
His butt cheeks are robotic in that one. Yes. But, so like, he's always been a good sport about himself and himself in Baywatch. Especially because, like, I think he knows that, like, there was a 10-year gap of people who legitimately thought that he was very good looking. I mean, the face has aged well. He's still got a very good face.
And honestly,
he's still in good shape for an old guy.
For me on the other side, same thing with Pamela Anderson.
Oh, she's aged great.
Yeah, aged great, but still not really my type per se.
But that was kind of the whole thing of Baywatch and like, that was one of the things that a new version of Baywatch had to think about is the standards of what a good-looking guy and girl in a bathing suit has changed a lot. Pamela Anderson is still beautiful, and she was beautiful back then, but the weird swimsuits don't really fit. The gigantic 80s hair doesn't really fit. The gigantic boobs without a lot of waist isn't really much of a thing anymore. It's kind of the other way around, really. It's a lot more waist usually now than boob. So
there's a lot of both.
Oh, I mean, this movie balances boob and butt quite a lot.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like where do you choose an actress or an actor because they fit what the 80s stereotype looked like, or do you just pick them because they kind of roughly fit the mold and like their attitude's great for the movie?
Yeah.
And honestly, I like how Baywatch did it. I think they picked people based off of who would be in a good fit for their weird, dumb movie, and it works.
Yeah. No, I agree. For me, and I'll probably have to pay a little bit more attention to it since it's kind of a newer thought process on, at least for me, in baldness and masculinity. Because for me, I feel there was a change in the 90s, more specifically, not in action movies or anything. I brought it up to my friends and my brothers, but like a character who is a very strong male character is Captain Picard.
Yeah, definitely.
And he, for me, is the first strong male or bald male role that I can think of.
Yeah, and like I remember I had a friend in college who he was going to go bald in college, and so he was just going to embrace it, but his big activity outside of school was cosplaying, and he was worried that would hold him back a little bit. And then when we started like listing out all the stuff that specifically had come out in the 90s that was more focused towards what he looked like and what he could achieve as a cosplayer, you know, he hadn't watched that. He was much more into the 80s and 70s stuff. And so we were both kind of shocked as like, no, there's definitely like a new wave of like, hair isn't necessarily the thing anymore. It's more about attitude and like how you present
personality.
yourself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good for wigs though.
Oh yeah, no, like he's got some really great ones that I've seen online in more recent years where he's done a really great Labyrinth one. It's a solid Labyrinth wig.
That poofy hair.
It's real poofy.
But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about, I think. Just as like roles in the world have changed and are constantly changing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting because even in this movie we have a wide cast. We have the pretty cocky boy. We have the big muscular teddy bear. Mm-hmm. And we have the chubby guy with the giant dick. Yeah,
and even the girls we see, not as much variety, but there's definitely some variety in how they're presented by what they choose to wear. We've got CJ, who's clearly meant to be more of a tomboy-esque. She wears a lot more sports bra style stuff.
No, that's Summer.
Oh, yeah, this Summer.
Yeah, CJ is the very classical...
And she, like, unzips her thing way farther than is necessary.
I don't know how that zipper is being held up.
Some of the bloopers show that it is not being held up. She is constantly fixing that swimsuit.
That is right. I do remember that part of
There's like a butt cheek fixing counter, and it's great.
For everyone.
For everyone, because it's swimsuits on the beach. There's going to be some slippage with those silly outfits.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and you also get just kind of a variety of attitudes, too. You get everything from the hard I've got daddy issues to somewhat of a mom figure to kind of a playful, silly character.
So that's one thing I'll probably disagree on is that, or
I would say
not agree with what the film was going for. Because remember, they were trying to capture the spirit of the show.
I will say,
as funny as the plots of the movie were, or the show were, from my understanding, again, I haven't seen the TV show, the TV show had a lot more dynamic in development for the characters.
Yeah. And the movie just didn't have time for.
Yeah, exactly.
The TV show had years, a whole decade, to go into each character and talk about who they were and why they were important, and also show them developing and showing everyone doing something important.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was a huge part of the original show that, honestly, we don't have time for in one movie. If there's a sequel, it'd be really cool to see the lady characters developed out more, especially since we didn't get to have a whole lot of time with anyone other than CJ and Summer.
Yeah, well...
Mostly CJ.
Well, I'm down for more Summer.
I mean, same.
But I will spoil it. They have announced that they are going to be potentially working on a sequel. There are plans for it.
Which is good, because this movie wasn't well received.
Critically, it wasn't well received.
But let's be real, it was full of dick jokes. I don't know a single dick joke movie that critically was well received.
Yeah. I mean, it made its money back in the box office.
Yeah.
But of the awards, it won 3. It won Teens Movie Choice for Comedy Actor, which was Zac Efron. The aforementioned Golden Schmoes Award, Best Teen A of the Year.
Yep.
Alexandra Daddario. And the Razzie nominee, So Rotten You Loved It.
I mean, yeah, So Rotten You Loved It does sum this movie up pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. It's
got a place. It's definitely got a place in an audience that it is specifically for and specifically targeting.
Yeah.
And
I just feel it could have potentially been a little bit better.
Oh yeah, there's definitely room for improvement. I would like to see a lot more rounded development for everyone in the next one. I'd like to see some more, I don't know, like the plot and the bad guy for this one were fun, but there was much more quintessential Baywatch plots that would have been a lot more fun to have explored. There was a lot of drowning in Baywatch. Like every episode, at least one person was drowning. Of course. Granted, we had some bullshit saving, but there just wasn't a ton of actual lifeguarding in this movie, which, granted, not really a big deal, but it's Baywatch. More time on the beach and in the ocean would be nice.
Yeah.
Like, we had a lot of party scenes, which I don't care about.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too big into comedy, especially this brand of comedy per se.
It's very American college kid type humor.
Yeah, I still prefer something like In Bruges.
Sure.
But at the end of it all, Chris, would you recommend this movie?
If you are also, at heart, a 13-year-old boy who giggles at penis jokes, yes, this movie's hilarious. If that is not your cup of tea, this movie really won't bring a whole lot to the table. Even if you were an old Baywatch lover and fan, it's not really that memento of the old show that you would want as an old Baywatch fan. It's kind of a fun play for someone who's not that person. So, it's a very mixed bag on who would like this and who wouldn't. It might be a fun, group movie to giggle at. There's a lot of good things to look at while you watch it, I guess.
There is plenty of good things to look at.
There's a lot of good things that you could oogle at, and there's enough dumb jokes that you can have some humor while you watch it, if that's your type of humor.
Yeah, see, I think this movie is very much like a White Claw.
Yeah, it is for some people.
It has a little taste of something that was there, but it's not great.
Yeah.
I personally would maybe rewatch this movie with our group of friends. I'm not necessarily going to recommend it to watch it with my brothers.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know. For me, it's probably a movie that I would sit and drink and watch, or just have it in the background while we're doing something else. Yeah. Just so we can poke fun at little bits here and there and oogle the beautiful people.
There's a lot of beautiful people in this movie.
But yeah, I mean, that's honestly, I think that's its shortcoming, is that it is all glamour. It doesn't have that little bit extra that I think could have made it a pretty good movie. Yeah.
And I have hopes for the sequel. I honestly think a huge part of this one's problem was they spent a long time developing pretty much just 2 of the characters, which that's not Baywatch. It was really a bigger picture type of show. And I don't know, the crime was fun, the crime was silly. the crime didn't feel like Baywatch to me. So maybe the second one will get it right.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't have hopes for it, honestly. I wasn't a fan of this one, so...
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone, that's for sure.
No, and that's fine. I mean, it's fun.
It's what it is. It is exactly what you think it is.
Exactly. And that's the one thing I do commend it for. It wasn't trying to be dark or edgy.
No. It knew exactly what it was set out to be, and that is exactly what it ended up being. Which, I'll take that. I'm fine with that.
Well, I'm glad you liked it, at least.
It's my level of trash.
Yes. Anywho, this has been The Good, the Bad, and the Weird.
Thanks for listening.
Peace.